challenge the vision of what the organization is as is concerned. We are almost getting to the end of this opening ceremony. We now invite Chief Guest of Honor, His Excellency Bakari Gambian, Mr. Idrissa, let's say, Vice President, not former Vice President. But we are all at one point in our life. Honorable Bakari Gambian. Now we will give the official opening ceremony, opening address.
Effort as opposed to an attitude holding our hands, doing nothing so far as doing enough. It was this rather simple, I would say even pedestrian terminology that was at the time adopted as the main for the concept that would go on carry the weight of an article of faith, a guiding principle to inspire the whole country and its people to embrace the mission building our nation relying primarily on our determination, on a spirit of hard work, on our ingenuity, and our resourcefulness. In itself, this notion of effort and self-reliance was derived from conventional wisdom here and elsewhere. Wisdom that we find expressed through popular catchphrases or aphorisms, which go to suggest or assert that in any undertaking it is only through efforts and perseverance that success is assured. Faced with the well-known constraints and vulnerabilities that define our situation at independence, together with the prevalence of the time, really unrealistic expectations on one hand, and on the other hand, some negative misconceptions about the meaning and implications of independence. Our new national leadership was inspired to think or appreciate the need for a doctrine that would help motivate positive thinking and action in our people in order to foster the transformative change which our people aspire of when they rose to free themselves from foreign rule, which has over the decades perpetuated indignities of servitude, at the same time has kept our people extremely depressed social-economic conditions because of the notorious colonial neglect phenomenon. This realization led the new authorities at the time to clearly articulate their ideas as to the way we should proceed and propagate such ideas so as to enable them to take root in the heart and soul of our people. Over the years, action taken in that regard took the form of a veritable advocacy campaign throughout the country. Truth be told, here we must acknowledge the eminent role played by Sir Dauda personally impactful effect. This far-sighted leadership style, hallmarks of which we remember included sincerity, focus, and consistency. Plus, also his personal example. Without that, it would have been difficult to carry the population along as needed. From the famous words Sadauda pronounced in his historic midnight speech on the 18th of February 1965, through the countless pronouncements he subsequently made in different fora, whether it was parliament, whether it was at political rallies, whether it was meetings with the local business community, whether it was meeting with farmers or herders, fisherfolk, and other economic actors. The mantra that he maintained, that he kept repeating, was the same. He called for diligent effort, productive work, help develop self, help develop community, and help develop the nation. There was a corollary to this, the concept of Tesito in the vision of Sadauda implied also idleness or being workshop and other similar attitudes of undue dependence on others was not the way to go. In the domain of the stewardship of public affairs, particularly the management of public resources, Tesito also called for due diligence in whatever was undertaken, but it also insisted on discipline and honesty. In that same spirit, profligacy was frowned on. It was seen as a dangerous virus which would create serious danger for our nation building projects. Similarly, waste or mismanagement of public resources, including embezzlement, were shown on them. It was this principled stance that Tesito called for against malfeasance of all types that could said to constitute the then ethical underpinnings of the concept of the Tesito concept. Sadauda did not merely preach, I must say, he led by personal example. As chief of state for 30 years or more, he was content to grow a modest salary. If I were to reveal in detail some of them was a shout. At its highest point, Sadauda's salary per annum amounts to more than $120,000 per annum. $120,000 was what Sadauda would do at the highest point. He lived modestly. I recall myself personally with a strong impression I got when I had the opportunity of stepping into his personal sleeping room, his bedroom. It was when 1981, following the helicopter accident, and I happened to be at the time the only minister around, working together with the whole field, medical personnel preparing beds for victims that were expected even now from Hawaii side of the accident. And the convoy decided to change course and drive straight to Shakehouse. And that day was the need to change them and go and find Sadauda himself in prison then and laid on his bed. And I was shocked to find Sadauda lying those same PWD made beds I used as commissioner of country in Caravan. That was what labeled Groups denied himself comfort because of his high regard, sensitivity for the state of the country, and the high regard for public property. He didn't only live modestly, he shunned indulging his fantasies at the expense of the state. It's rather there was never any expensive presidential jet for his official travel. There was no unnecessary junketing for him around the world, clothed under false pretenses. Especially, there was no inclination in him to make the Gambian public, the Gambian president, pay for transforming his birthplace, Paragali, into a dream village. Everybody would like it. He said, furthermore, Sarada demonstrated the same degree of sensitivity and concern in the management of other facets of our national resources, including our national heritage. The point is perhaps best illustrated by the concern he manifested for the needs of future generations. Here is his record. Many initiatives speaks for itself. Perhaps the best example of it being the Banjul Declaration of 1979, which issued while much of the world still have to wake up to realize the issues of climate change, issues of the impact of mismanaging our natural heritage, the lives of present and future generations. It is appropriate for me at this point to salute the Kairoclo Conservation and Leadership Organization for recognizing the significance in both symbolic and practical terms of the legacy of Sarada in this regard, and for recognizing it as an offshoot, recognizing the conservation interest as an offshoot of the concept of Tesito as it applied to leadership and stewardship of public affairs and national resources. Your example, Mr. Chairman, commends itself on both and others in our community who come on board. I'm delighted also to discover here that we had fruitful collaboration with institutions such as the university and also the National Environment Agency and the Credit Union. I think these are very hopeful signs, and I want to salute them also for the partners also. But coming back to the story of the evolution of the concept, one cannot dispute the fact that the message vehicle through the Tesito banter did not fall in deaf ears. Up and down the country, it registered well and even resonated positively with many. Firstly, the mood of wait and see, or even disbelief, which obtained before and around the time of independence, suddenly started to change to a markedly more positive space and mindset, called the mindset one of yes we can learn the work of our people. You can remember our generation anyway, how even with the level of school children, the famous song, Gambia and Nagoba, became very popular. It captured mood, the was spreading at the time, that independence meant hard work. And it was a proverb on the message contained in Sarah's famous speech as he accepted the instruments of independence when he won. And there will be no magic to transform our groundnuts into diamonds. And that the way forward for the Gambia was hard work, serious work, which at the popular level and at the government level, the level of leadership also meant sincere work, work done honestly, work done in the spirit of helping rather than benefiting yourself. It was the same spirit which, as I said, spread, and in terms of the practical application on the ground, one can cite a few examples. If you take the rural sector, rural economic sector, for instance, it was a very mainstay of the national economy because it became clear that the actors, whether they are cattle farmers, crop farmers, fisher folk, etc., came forward. The amount of support and investment that the state could give them was naturally fairly modest, but their response was remarkable. Within a very short time, so their production increased in yield and also their efforts were diversified. Whereas at the beginning we had a monoculture system, just groundnuts. In a very short time, we saw farmers expand, diversify their activities by going into crops like cotton, horticulture, palm produce, and many others. And give consideration to going into, in particular, areas such as entrepreneurship and innovation. These are areas with modern technological environment gives comparative advantage. The Gambians as a whole, in general, I say, embrace the spirit of Tesito in every practical way you can, drawing motivation from the spirit of self-reliance. Areas of education, areas of business, or building communities, compromise, examples. The list is not exhaustive. Essence is to commit contributing meaningfully to one's personal development as well as the development of your community and your nation. Mr. Chairman, distinguished participants, let me make clear that our destiny is in our hands. No one else will build our nation for us. Sadauda's vision at the time was that independence to be meaningful, so create an opportunity to be used to build a purposeful nation, free people, but also hard-working people who are resilient and enterprising and committed to the common good rather than pursuing exclusively their personal interests. It is a vision that is very relevant. It is our effort, it is our Tesito that will shape the future of the dream. It is my firm belief where the philosophy, of course, philosophy at one time in our history proved so critical for setting us out on the right path of survival, at a time when many thought that we could never make it. If it served us so well at the time, that same Tesito must still be relevant today. Embracing it again will not fail to prove vital aid to help us advance. And we need to advance. Still, the country calls for it. We are presently stuck in mud, and we need to call on the spirit of Tesito and resolve to pull our country out of it and advance forward. As Chairman, distinguished forum participants, let this forum be the starting point for renewing our commitment to Tesito, not just as an idea, but as daily practice of our lives. I leave you with this challenge. Will Tesito be remembered as a fading slogan, or will it be revived as a force that defines our nation's next chapter? The answer lies in what we choose to do as a people. You know, Mr. Chairman, distinguished participants, shall now have the pleasure to declare this important forum formally open. We think that we have very fruitful discussions, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Delegates representing all the countries in the Gambia. My name is Professor Siddharth Yapa. I am Professor of Agronomy, University of the Gambia, the director of the Pascal Doctoral Research Program for Management and Education in the former Dean of School of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. I'm happy that you guys have honored our invitation to come and grace this occasion with us in order to revive the memory and the contribution of our Vice President of the Republic of Gambia, Mr. Chair of Kairoclo, I want you to pay attention to me. You made mention and you praised me generally. Organization of Islamic Conference. So I want to young people, wherever you go in this world, when you have naturally the Gambia, because of the geographic size, it's a small country, don't pay them attention. Tell them we have the brightest mind in this world. We have the brightest mind in Africa, and we have shown that through United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We have shown that in United Nations Framework Convention on Biodiversity. We have shown that in ECOWAS. We have shown that in OIC. So those are the greatest achievements of our founding father has left us. Now, what should we do moving forward? All of us should work collectively together. We should help each other. We should unite. We should establish, we should watch this system of tribalism, the system of intellectualism, the system of financial powers. Let's forget about that. Let's help one another as we make progress in this way. Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Once again, I thank you very much for attending this auspicious occasion, and we look forward to continue our work relationship with you, with your institutions, and in your persons as students. We encourage you to come to Kairoclo and contribute to the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Rafa. Finally, I want to recognize the collaborative spirit of our two vice presidents. These two people are 100% behind Kairoclo, giving their support morally and in kind. We want to thank them very much for that. With that, we've come to the end of this opening ceremony. We would like now to invite those of the house to come for a group photograph with members of Kairoclo.
That farmers use to predict, either from the onset of the using local things. And they can tell you, by looking at a particular tree, I can even mention issue of baobab. When the baobab, the sprouting of the baobab leaves will predict when the rain is supposed to start. And the fruiting of the baobab will also determine the length of the rain. And that is very important for them. By knowing the length of the rain, they will be able to predict what kind of crops are we going to grow this year. And if that also from the base or from up, so they have different ways of how to look at those kind of things. So you can see those kind of things. These are some of the things. When we go, this is some of the inbuilt kind of community-based knowledge that we can also use rather than coming with scientific issues that cannot be applicable to them. Because they have a knowledge. They have something that they can say. And it's not only trees. They can look at the insects. During the, I came in my research, I also found during the start of the rain, you know, when you are in the village, you see some insect bringing some kind of seeds that they keep in their own whatever. During the, you can see in a particular corner, you see some of the insects bringing some seeds, whether it's going to be grains, whether it's going to be foods or millet or whatever. That is very important for them in some communities. What kind of crop will really perform well in a particular season? So this is something, sometimes when we tend to look low upon what we get from our community, and that helps them a lot. And that is essentially, this is not something, this is the knowledge that they have learned from their grand people, and it is still continuing. But the saddest part during my study, so what they said that now, that knowledge becomes very difficult to pass on. because you don't even see the young ones. When they come there, they don't want to know this one. Because nobody is involved in farming. But these are some of the that they are used to looking at the dynamics of the climate change situation. These are some of the things that they normally use to strengthen their issues related to climate change and how can they be able to. So sometimes they use the pattern of the flower. For example, if the flower is coming from the base towards the up, that shows how long the grain is supposed to be. If the flower is uniform, like baobab tree, it shows that this year rain can support all kinds of crops. It's a prediction. But at least this prediction has been tested. And all about this research, whether from a scientific perspective, it has to be tested. That's why when you hear the theory, it's something that has been, is accepted, but when it becomes a law, it becomes something that is universally accepted. Because it has been tested in all aspects. You can have a theory. If some of you, when you are reading, you see Pythagoras theorem or whatever theorem, that means somebody can come with a different thing that can falsify that kind of a theory. But when it becomes a law, it becomes something that is, in a scientific perspective, it becomes something that is tested and found to be something that is universally accepted. So these are some of the things that very, very key, and I think it is important for us to share those kind of aspects. I would have talked a lot, but frankly, I have so many engagements. I just arrived yesterday at 1 a.m. There's a lot of other work to do, but I think this concept of Tesito, initiated by the best president of the Republic, particularly from the agency's point of view, is when you look at this vision, environmental management, and we look at what is happening now, you will realize that it's something that needs to be cherished. It is something that we need to look at. And the only people who can cherish this vision is the young ones that are sitting here, and many of them that are there. It's very good to think globally, but it's also very important to think locally, to act locally. And whatever small way you can do, please do. I mentioned it early in the morning. A person is remembered on tourism. You can die, you can be either mortal or immortal. The mortal are the person that die and it's finished. And just like when you kill a goat, you get the Tobaski, you think about another goat for another Tobaski. But immortal individuals are people who die and people will remember them for the rest of their life. Some of them are, because of the past, they are benefiting from those. In some of this place is a Morokunda, whatever, it may not be in Maracos or whatever, but because there are people who are recognized for that. So apparently they are taking that lineage, but not necessarily they are asked. So this is very, very important for our generation today. What can you do? The Gambia is ours in all aspects. We either have to make it or we break it. I thank you very much.
Which has very, very clearly and succinctly linked the environmental effort and this concept of peace. I appreciate it very much. One of the most interesting parts of it is where he's emphasizing that scientific solutions are very important, but we cannot be oblivious of the indigenous knowledge and skills which our own ancestors over centuries have tested and succeeded in solving their own problems. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MC, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend the organizers of this wonderful forum. It is, I'm sure, a very, very important intellectual exercise. And I feel flattered if you ask to give the keynote, statement. But I will do my level best. So as to meet the expectations of the organizers of this very, very important event on Tesito. Now Tesito has been summarized as self-reliance, do it yourself. Tesito taxing. That was the refrain in the 70s and 80s. Okay? But this was a philosophy. Tesito was a philosophy. So really, as we sort of want the students to maybe study a thesis or a dissertation on Tesito, they can be from several angles. And, if they are studying philosophy, it can be philosophized. Of course, it is a development. It's also a political issue. Now, what was the context of Tesito? Why did His Excellency President Alhaji Sadawada Kairoclo Jawara and his team, why did they bring about this philosophy? What was the economic, political, and regional context? Number one, we have to know that after independence in the 60s, there was, what I can call eagerness, a desire in Africa to find, formulas for development, to find the correct formula for Africa's development. Socialist, Marxist, capitalist, African socialist, and so on. So really, there was this, if you like, groping, for solutions. And some of you, will remember the French agronomist, Ray Domo, who in 1964 wrote a very, very scathing attack on the failure of the new African leaders to find a path towards development. He called it Africa's false start. And the title of the book, Africa's false start. This was in 1964. So you can see that so many of our founding fathers won independence, but we are unsure which way to take, okay, to meet the development aspirations of the people. Okay? So that is one context. Sadaudo was eager, okay, to find a clear path towards Gambia's socio-economic development. So Tesito came in handy. Okay? So that you can call an intraneous or a local context. But remember also, there was this notion of the Gambia as the improbable nation. Okay? That economically. Now another context, and this is very important, particularly if you want to see Tesito, purely as a philosophy, okay, as an economic philosophy, and that has to do with the fact that at the same time, so many other African leaders were also trying self-reliance philosophies. Somebody mentioned, Nyerere's Uyama, okay, in Uyama villages. That village Nyerere started, okay, after the Arusha Declaration of 1967. In Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta had also this self-reliant, philosophy. Let's put together, Harambe, okay? So you can see that just as Sadauda was, coining and espousing this, philosophy of self-reliance, the same thing was happening in other African countries, okay? Okay. So maybe, Sadauda got, inspired, okay? From these other, attempts by other African leaders, and I'm sure also these African leaders also got inspired by Sadauda's, philosophy of Tesito, okay? Because they met regularly. These leaders met in OAU summits. Ambassador is here. He knows what happened, behind the doors or during the coffee breaks in these summits. Commonwealth Summit. So I'm sure, they were informing each other. Because all these founding fathers were eager, to be fair to them. All of them, Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Nyerere, Sadauda, Senghor, they were all eager to forge a new path, okay, to take their people out of poverty. Okay? And increasingly, as the years went by, they increasingly realized that they have to be inward looking. How do they muster? Okay? How do they mobilize the abilities, okay, and the techniques and the willingness of their own citizens to bring about, sustained development? Okay? But having said that, I want to believe, in fact, I believe that among all the philosophies, Yarambe, Yuyama, Nyayo, and you name them, that Daniel Arap Moyes, my brother Mr. Tal is a friend to Daniel Arap Moyes. He had Nyayo in Kenya, it was also a philosophy. But all of this, I think Tesito was the most impactful. Yes. Among all the philosophies, for me, Tesito was the most impactful. And I will give 3-4 reasons. Number one, Tesito helped to widen access to education in the Gambia. Tesito schools throughout the country, late 60s, 70s, Tesito schools. I myself, I went to a Tesito school. Because in 1977, Abulai Jani was voted as the MP for Salah on the PDP ticket. And the first thing our elders told him was we want a school. Njau is too far from Punjab. It's 7 kilometers. So find us a school in Punjab. So, the villagers said they were going to erect a structure. And then the MP Amolajani will work with the Minister of Education to bring a teacher, an ustaz. I remember that because I was among the first people of Pantan School in 77. Okay? So you had dozens and dozens of schools. Today you go to these schools, they are first floor, second floor schools, but they started as touch, and then later, fourth blocks, because the villagers were eager. Okay, the government will post the teachers, but the villagers said we will erect the structure, and there were dozens of schools like that. Today, of course, they are, beautiful edifices. But at the very beginning, and they were just made from grass, or from palm leaves. Okay? I mean, for the peoples to sit down, we either sat on the floor, on mats, or on logs of wood, that were just put on platforms. So these were the Tesito schools. And thousands of Gambians, particularly of my generation, they attended school. Thanks to this, I'm very, very modest. Tesito schools. Clinics were built. Roads were cleared. Roads, particularly November, December. You have all these Tesito, work groups. You had all these Tesito, work groups. Because they needed to clear the bush, the roads, so that the lorries can evacuate the groundnuts, from the circles to town or from the circles to town. So Tesito was, utilized to even, enhance, the communication network in the country. Creeks were cleared for the cloth to allow the tugboats to move along there. Thanks to Tesito work. There were even Tesito anti-crime teams in Banjul in the early 80s. I saw this in the Nation newspaper yesterday, when in the archives, when I was preparing my notes. There was a spate of, theft and robbery in Banjul. So the editor, the great, Dixon Cody, did an editorial. He said, Tesito is so successful in this country. They are building roads, schools, clinics, and so on. So maybe, there should be Tesito vigilante groups, so as to help the police, to fight crime. So you can see that even in terms of crime management, Tesito, played a role. Each Gambian village had a Tesito group, ready and willing to go into dutiful action. And they were inclusive, these Tesito groups. Men, women, everybody was there. Okay? Under Tesito, the entire Gambia was in profound earnestness to work. I don't know, the notion of the lazy youth, I don't know where it started, but not during Tesito. Everybody was primed for work through these Tesito groups, in the villages, in the towns. Everybody. And somebody asked me, but how was Jawara able to mobilize the Gambia into beautiful action, although he did not run the police state? How was Jawara able to mobilize the Gambia into Tesito, even though he did not run the police state? Because nobody was forced into Tesito groups. Okay? Because remember, during the days of Tesito, from the 60s to the early 90s, the Gambia was a free democratic state. Free press, regular multi-party elections, etc. So no one was forced into Tesito. So how come Tesito was so successful? Well, I have four answers. One, President Jawara led by example. He espoused Tesito. He spoke about it. He supported Tesito groups and projects. He visited Tesito projects during his Meet the Farmers tours. Jawara preached and practiced Tesito. Therefore, the country joined him in this effort. Number two, Radio Gambia and the news bulletins were used optimally to cover Tesito events, and this gave visibility to the philosophy. There were special Radio Gambia programs by Maimuna Ba and Beba Tambi to call Tesito Hour. And I remember, this is the Tesito Hour. Okay? And what did this program, entail? I deal with actualities. from Tesito projects and works throughout the country. So everybody, every Tesito group knew what the other Tesito group was doing. Tesito enhanced women's participation. It enhanced youth participation. Therefore, I enjoin scholars like you to dig deeper into the Tesito philosophy and to come up with action-oriented conclusions that we can adopt and adapt to continue the development trajectory of our country. Thank you.
Can we give our principal speaker standing ovation?
You are here. I'm not sure your name. You're Gambia. Hello. Welcome.
It was worth the wait.
It was a magnificent piece. Not just in terms of the research that is done, but also the analysis that went with the research. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And he's right. What we're seeing now is projects imposed, if I may use that term, by consultants and public servants. During the Tesito era, the initiative came from the people, and they put in all their resources to ensure that their dreams were realized. And that was what made it a wonderful kind of spirit. You understand? People took ownership of their own development. Nobody forced them to accept or to do things or to go one direction or the other. They would confer among themselves, decide on what they want, and propose it to the government. This is what we want, and we're willing to go this far. Please complement what we have got. And before you know, the project is off the ground.
Yeah.
So,
Have you noticed that the MC is also making a presentation without the mic? She must be very inspired.
because I am being reminded by her.
Take the mic, madam, please.
Between 1976
Take the mic, please.
and 87, I was in the Ministry of Finance. So I understood, yes, so I understood some of these things that you were saying. And I feel so sorry, you know, that, yeah, that things are what they are today. So let me not get too emotional. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor. So our next presenter is Gambia.
No.
Workers Union.
Workers Union, yes.
So Gambia appreciate.
Thank you very much. Giving me the floor. Also contribute a little past where we are today. I know that our presentations will more or less be the same. Because we know what happens during the past. Although we were very young, but we can remember a lot. Especially when Kairoclo Jawara initiated the philosophy Tesito. To me, Tesito, what it means is self-determination and for self-reliance. You must have determination to be self-reliant. Without determination, it is going to be hard to have patriotism for self-reliance. Remember when Kairoclo Jawara initiated the philosophy Tesito,
is the first to set example by farming at Banjorili, where he was having his farm, just opposite the airport. By that time, I was very young. I was going to St. Peter's. I was staying with my uncle and with most of them. They know him very well. Sometimes we do go to the farm when it is ripe. We ourselves, very young. The oranges, they are, because he produces different types of fruits. Mangoes, pear, name it, and vegetables. When I was also very young, working with the trade union movement, because I started working with the trade union movement when I was very young. In 1987. Whenever I came back home from abroad, I will join the old people for us to continue this struggle for this self-reliance and self-determination. And the union also emulated the president in order to promote Tesito as part of what relying on ourselves instead of depending on foreign aids or importing from outside. We were able to establish the union, 26 women vegetable gardening across the country. They are the first to establish. And still they are our members. Mami Sise was the chairwoman, and she is still alive, the wife of Julami. Auditorium, and Deba Tafet. She's very active in politics, and I know most of you know her, and many others. They be emulated in promoting self-reliance. Today, most of these women vegetable gardens are growing vegetables that they grow and market to feed their families, educate their children, and etc. This Bakau vegetable gardening here, we established. Even that of the Banjorili is the union that is established. 36 branches across the country, I just don't name them and take time. All to emulate and promote Tesito for self-determination and self-reliance, which was the only reality. Today, when Trump decided to withdraw USAID from Africa, many African leaders we are definitely in dilemma. They were thinking where to go, how to survive. People were crying when we have everything, they take it from us. We built Europe. We constructed Europe up to America. Even the plan that they construct Europe, America, Washington DC, is been drawn by the blacks. The economy, we believe, is the slaves, the black slaves that built the economy of America and liberated America with the leadership of Abraham Lincoln for the independence of America. All this we got to know as Africans in order to promote patriotism, self-determination, and self-reliance. Sarawak was a vision. He further established he further called for the Banjul Declaration. And that is this declaration here in 1977. To protect the flora and the fauna, which was part of climate change, when Europe does not even think of what is climate change, because he was a visionary. He asked Gambians and Africans grow trees in the streets. At the same time, reforestation in the bush. That's why you have many trees being grown inside the streets of Banjul, which was led by I think with the children Jawara. And Jawara was the very person who imported those trees into the Gambia, the Malaya and the Navy. That time we were all doing the going in the streets, following them. So he was having vision and he heard to mitigate climate change at that time. Look at today. We are also part of those who are paying the price of climate change. If at all, the Tesito philosophy was really in our head and we are putting it in practice, well organized, then today we will not be part of those people. The organization is what is like. Although at the time, he established through the local government act, the VDCs, these village development committees, is when they were established. But these village development committees, what is their plans? What is their projects? What program did they have? What projects have they done in their localities? Because the commitment is not there, the plan is not there, the program is not there, the organization is not there. It's just few individuals, not more than just 5 people. But only there for themselves and not for their localities. We all know what is going on. Even today, I was able to challenge government on, for these women vegetable gardeners and fish mongers at Taye. Because they sell on the streets. Every morning, even tomorrow, if you go there, you'll find them fighting with the parents, stoning one another. Get out here, I'm not going. Because they don't have a marketplace. Where is the VDC? They are there. And there are many things I'm doing for against the VDC, and we are taking care of it. So, the education, commitment, the organization must be in peace and strategy for development. We could have engaged our youths in agriculture, which is the main backbone of this country, being the sea and the land. Saudara Kairoclo put a project in place under the EDF, the European Development Fund, 5 boats for fishing. Every interested Gambian or citizen could go and apply to the project document and we will be giving the 5 boats to go and fish. But all those 5 boats, they end up being used by the Jews. And before, during our youthful age, the Gambian sailors were the one going to sea, bringing very good fish, barracudas, jellyfish, etc. in the streets, selling them. Our mothers will be selling us to run after them to buy. They will put them in this 4-wheel boost. But we all stopped going to sea. Our marine resources now could have industrialized this country long time. Any stranger or foreigner comes here, every Gambian should have been an employer. We should employ them. But we underutilize our capacities, particularly our marine resources and our land for agriculture. Now the economy of this country, after independence, you learn from some of the presenters that growth in Gambia was far ahead of growth in China. And that's a fact. In the 70s, growth in Gambia and growth in China were at par. From the 70s to the 20s, look at where China is. Challenging powerful capitalism that is the United States of America on prices. If America said 245, they say, okay, for us 200. And it's still America that is paying it. Now are they not negotiating? Why? Because of the strong economy. Without a strong economy, no strong currency. And without a strong economy, no way that you can make. It will increase poverty, vulnerability, high cost of living, and that's why it's high time this conference this electricity place how to call it, in Kairoclo, because it's high time. If you learn how the world is going on now, and we did not go back to Tesito, self-reliance, self-determination, I'm telling you, time is coming. We are waiting for something. We need to evaluate our economy. The economy of this country is 99% in the control of foreign domination. Lions here export of course. Then when do you expect to develop? When your economy is being controlled by who? Strangers, I will say strangers and foreign capital. Because I'm a Pan-Africanist. And I can say 75% of the economy is being dominated by strangers or Pan-African brothers and sisters. Self-reliance, self-determination is not a small thing. Chairman Mao, when he took over China, he introduced cultural revolution to decolonize and take ownership. Are we prepared as a country, particularly the coming generation? Are we prepared as a country to liberate the economy? Are we? That should be number one to think of. Because there was an initiative that was put in place, someone have named it here this morning, IBAS, Indigenous Business Advisory Service. They even give money for self-help, self-employment and self-reliance. That project failed. They had the money. Nothing was done. And the IBAS was changed to something else again. From I don't know IBAS, I don't know what. That project was failed. All was to promote the Tesito philosophy for self-reliance. If you do not have the skill, you don't have academic education, you don't have the moral education, that's madarasa, you get business. I have a friend, full of friend who sells coffee. Every morning I'm always with him. From 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, he made $2,224. I'm not joking. And I left him there and go to work. From 7 o'clock to 9, $2,220. This month. Just in the morning, and he will come back in the evening around 5. We are talking about this because it's about self-reliance, taking ownership. which is a big commitment. Are we ready as a nation? Because how I see Gambians, particularly those who want to create a nation. Yes. And in that, nothing could be very big. Even all the prophets we are having schemes. All the prophets we are having schemes. Zuba was a cabinet. Dawud Suleiman we are wellness. The Prophet Muhammad himself was a businessman. How can we get rid of it? We must be committed for self-reliance. And it's the only alternative as of now. If you wake up in the middle of spring, Africa, yes, we have to change. We need to rebuild, rethink, and restore. Take policy. And do away with neo-colonialism. It's high time. My good friend here told us that the Tesito philosophy died when the globalization came into Gambia. That is the Economic Recovery Program, ERP. I remember, I know, 1985. At the time, most of our important institutions were shut down, closed, scrapped. We have a Ministry of Economic Planning and Development. That's the time they don't want to see development. The best institution, the Ministry of Labor. Labor is the actor of development. Labor is the architect of labor. Labor creates the nation's wealth. They are the taxpayers. They are the voters. They close their ministry. Now we don't have the time to live. They are talking about trade. What are we trading?